The ghost of the guy that I had hired to build my house is haunting me. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. Apologies for not posting so often. Two of our admins, one of our brother who stayed in Cape Town, who had been translating the Shona Confessions, we can't get hold of him, as well as our other South African admin. She is busy with her exams as for now, but she said that whenever she is free, she will translate some of the voice notes that I sent to him. So there is one message that she translated over the weekend that I'm going to be sharing with you, and it reads like this. Hi, Bronash. How are you? Please post my story as anonymous. If it is possible, I would want you to narrate my story and to not share the voice note on any public platform, because I fear that there are those that are going to recognize my voice. So my story, it goes on like this. Even though I know that I robbed a guy that had worked for me, and after he had finished building my house, I decided to not to pay him. But I did not pay him because I did not have money. It was that there was no money at all. I am now suffering quite a lot because I fell down from the shower and I had my spinal cord. So I am in a wheelchair as I am speaking with you. I am grateful for my wife, because even though we are facing this situation where I can't do anything for myself, but my wife, she has never done anything bad against me. Rather, she had showed me love like the way that I never knew that she could give me so much love before. For you to understand my story, how I have been living in a nightmare like this, it all started when I was still living in Soweto. I then got money and I bought a residential stand. I got this residential stand in the suburbs. It was in a gated community, so I did not want to use all of the home loan amount. So first I put down a down payment from my other Absa credit account, and I had another car that I sold, and we did this in agreement, me and my wife. So when we raised this money, we then managed to put up the deposit, and it was easy for me because I thought that I would continue to make money. But at my workplace, things did not go so well. The company that I had been working for, they started to go into business rescue just when I needed that job the most. And then I was already starting to build the house when this land was finally mine, because I knew that this was going to be a lifetime investment. I had called a big construction company which was owned by a white guy to come and check the place. They gave me a quote. The quote was to dig to build the initial foundation of the house. The price was too high. By the time that they finished doing just the foundation and ground floor slab, my bank account was almost empty. I tried to access the other facility that the bank had promised me, but I was unable to access that facility. I was running very short on money, but my pride would not let me stop with the project. I wanted to make people to see that me, Sipho, I was making big moves. I now was building a house in Santon. That is when I met a Zimbabwean guy. His name was Nkosi. Nkosi, he was someone that I had known. He had done some work for some of my friends in Soweto. So he was doing a construction job. He had a company in Joburg. But the truth was that he was living in our country illegally without proper papers. But I liked the guy because one of my friend, he had recommended this guy, and I had even brought him to my mother's house in Protea Glen so that he can do some renovations. It was very cheap, and the work that he did, it was nice and quick. because I was desperate and broke. In that estate, there were people that were not allowed, that did not have papers. I would take a risk. I would take my him, Nkosi, and his tools. We went to the estate and I hid him under the sail, and then I took out the tools once we were at the place. So each and every morning, I was the one that would go with them to the estate where no people with documents were allowed. So me and this guy, we came to an agreement. I did not become honest with him about telling him that I did not have the entire funds to finish this house. I just said, my brother, money is not a problem. I am going to be giving you your money, but I'm going to be giving you money here and there. So Nkosi did not have a problem. Nkosi and his team, they were Zimbabwean, so I think they would wait for me and I would go and pick them up and I would take them to Senton. Those guys, they were working like they were donkeys. This guy, he would work without even complaining. As the house was going up and up, these guys, I would smuggle them so that they can stay inside of that house, even though it was not allowed at the estate. When the building was completed, there were a lot of money that I was owing this guy. He came with the final invoices. The money that I was owing him, it was very huge. It was a lot of money. He told me that he had hired other guys to come and to do some other work. When he realized that I did not have his money, he got extremely angry. He would even come to our offices, calling my phone every 10 minutes, demanding his payment. He said, man, I need my money. There are people that I hired as subcontracts. They think that you paid me. And I'll be like, no, I'm still sorting out things. By then, I was in a conversation with my bank. There were a couple of things that I was supposed to do before I could be able to access that facility that they had promised me initially when I took that amount. So he was like, if you play games with me, I'm going to hire a gunman who is going to shoot you. I got scared when he threatened me that he was going to get me killed. Instead of finding a way to pay this guy his money, I then decided to use my connections. I called one of my friends. I have a friend of mine who works as a metro in JMPD. I said, hey man, there is a Zimbabwean guy threatening my life. Set up a trap for him. So my friend called Nkosi on the phone and lied to him. He said that your friend here, your boss, he gave me some cash to give you some of it, but it's not a lot for the work that you have been doing. Come, I'm at work right now. Come near the station. You can collect some of your money. So this Zimbabwean guy, he did not think much about it. He just went to that place thinking that he was going to get his money. But as soon as he arrived there, that was when they arrested him. He did not have any document. He was undocumented and they locked him up. He was eventually deported back to his country. What I did not know was that this Nkosi guy, even though he was very huge, he was very fit, and he was a scary guy, he was relying on ARV medication here in South Africa, and the life here in our country had given him access to better food and better health care. But when he was dumped back in his country, in his rural home in Zim, unfortunately, things were not okay for him. As someone who had been staying on another country, there was no proper food, no money, as well as no access to his required medication, I guess due to poor living conditions. Within a couple of months after he had returned back, he then passed away. A few weeks after Nkosi died, his poor wife then went to my mother's house in Protea Glen, and she was crying. She was begging my mother for money because he did not have any money. When my mom called me to tell me about this, I flew straight to Protea Glen. The way that I was driving, I was angry at this woman. I said, if you ever come near my family again, you are going to know my name. You are going to know me personally. So she then went away. Life continued as normal. 5 years later, after I chased Nkosi's wife from my mother's house in Protea Glen. So in my mind, I was actually defending myself because I said that this guy, I had promised him that I'm not going to give you your money all at once. Just wait for me. So I said he was the one that was impatient. So me and my wife, we moved into our house in Senton. When I moved there with my wife, this was not going to become my primary residence. I had bought this stand as a way of trying to make some money because I had listened to this other show which was talking about property development. So this was like my real first time trying to be a property developer. So I continued with my life. There was no problem at all. Life was continuing as normal, and I was an attorney, by the way. So me and my wife, we would go on vacations, on holidays here in South Africa, and I had totally forgotten about that Nkosi guy from Zim. When it happened, it came to me without a warning. I can say that I was feeling afraid at all the times when I started to see the ghost of this Zimbabwean guy. Whenever there was no electricity and I was home alone, this is what I used to do. Let's say that my wife, she would have gone out to a drive-through with the kids, and then I would have been left behind at home. Then I would sit outside just watching the gates. If I would see my wife at the front gate, then I would rush into the kitchen pretending as if I was sitting in the kitchen waiting for my wife. I was just afraid for no reason at all. I was becoming paranoid. When it happened, it was in the morning at around 5 a.m. My alarm, it went off like always, so I wanted to prepare. I still remember that I had this other high court case that had to do with taxi shooting. My wife was still fast asleep in our bedroom, so I then went into the bathroom. It was a little bit dark and the sun was not even out, and everything outside, it was really pitch black. So I went into our main in-suite bathroom to take a quick warm shower, and then I started to work on my laptop. So this house, everything had been built by this Zim guy that I did not even pay for. So when I walked into the bathroom, that was when I started to feel as if there was someone that was watching me. I don't know how to properly explain this to you, but it felt as if there was someone that was watching me. And I even heard someone that was walking into the bathroom. When I looked around, I did not even see anything. Then I felt as if there was someone that was choking me. When I felt that I was being choked, I then looked into the bathtub. Inside the bathtub, there were some blankets that had been placed there by my wife the previous night because she wanted the maid to wake up and to wash those heavy blankets. Something just forced me to look at those blankets. As I was looking at those blankets, the funny thing that happened was that it was as if these blankets, they were moving. I don't know how to properly explain, but it just felt as if these blankets, they were moving on their own. Yet my wife was asleep and I was alone inside of the bathroom. I felt this demonic fear entering my body and my mind. I could not even breathe. I could not scream. And my brain was telling me to run for my life. I was paralyzed and I was in panic. Then that was when I opened the shower door and I was trying to escape back into the bedroom and to tell my wife that this was what had happened to me. But since I was wet, I had not even dried myself. That was when I then slid and I fell after I had lost control, and I landed on the floor on my back, and it was really painful. It was so painful. I knew that there was something that was wrong with my back because of the pain. It was as if someone was stabbing me with a knife. I tried to lift my head. I could not even move my head. I could not move my legs. It was as if there was someone that was sitting on my head. And as I was lying there, I started to feel that I was losing consciousness, like there was someone that was trying to drag me to another place. And then that was when I saw this guy. The ghost that I saw, it was real. When I first saw him, I thought that maybe it was an animal that was with me in the bathroom. But then I started to look and I saw that this was a man and I recognized his face. But what surprised me, he was not even looking at me. He was busy putting some cement onto the wall and he was tiling the bathroom wall. What shocked me was a sound that was just coming out of the kitchen sink. It was as if there was another creature that was in there that was like it was so scary, that sound that was coming out of the sink. Then my mind just went blank. I don't remember what happened. When I woke up, I started to feel that I was not in my house anymore. I was not totally awake, like I was returning back from wherever I had been taken to by Nkosi's spirit. Then I started to hear the machines that were like beep, 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 beep. When I finally woke up and I opened my eyes, I saw that I was in a place where there were people that were also sick. I was in an intensive care unit. Like I was in that place where you go when you have a stroke, when you are about to die. My body, it was hooked to all kind of machines. I was not even breathing properly. The tension that was in my chest, it was just too much. The beeping sound became louder and louder and louder. So the nurses, they rushed to me and they gave me more IV drips, and this made me to become more paralyzed. To explain this to someone who has never been in such a situation, when you are paralyzed, when you are going in and out of a coma, people will think that you are not feeling, you are not hearing anything. When I was in that situation, I was seeing things, I was hearing people. Whenever I would wake up, my heart beating really fast, I was unable to communicate with the nurses that I was seeing demons that were trying to grab my feet. I would see demons that were so black and dark, they were so scary, they would walk straight to me, they would hold my legs and they would try to drag me out of the bed, and then I'll start to scream. But screaming, I would be screaming in my mind. This is what made those beeping sounds to become louder and louder. And the more that I was being terrorized by these creatures, the more the nurses gave me, I don't know what kind of a medication that they were giving to me so that I can relax. They thought that when they would have given me that medicine, it would make me to relax. But what it was doing, it was making me to become paralyzed. My mind was playing tricks on me. I finally recovered after I stayed in the hospital for 2 months. Unfortunately, I was told that I had injury, and I also had injury on my spinal cord. I would never be able to walk using my own 2 feet. I told my mother the moment that I was able to communicate. I told my mom that this was what I was seeing. There were creatures that were visiting me, and these creatures, they wanted to take me to hell. I told my mom that there were things that were talking to me, even though my family was being told by the doctors that these were like the after effects of the drugs that they were administering to me. that is why I was having all of these hallucinations. But I was seeing things, I was feeling things, I was being told by these creatures that came to me that they wanted to kill me. Eventually, I saw Nkosi one day. I was so surprised because he was busy putting some tiles on the floor in that very same ward where I was. It was so shocking to see him in broad daylight. He just lifted his head and he looked at me and he said, "Speak with my family so that I can release you." I told my mother when they came for the visitation and they looked for Nkosi's family, where Nkosi's family said that they wanted 24,000. This was equivalent to the cows that they wanted to buy in their country. I don't know what kind of a ritual they were going to do. My family, they raised that money and they gave it to Nkosi's family. The day when those people arrived in their country, then that was the day that I was able to feel like a normal human being. All that while I was not okay. When there were pastors that would come and pray for other people in that very same ward, and those pastors would have been brought by the relatives of someone that was sick who was in the same ward where I was, I would feel that it will become a little bit better, maybe for an hour. But at night, the hospital, it gets so scary. The person right next to you, you just feel that this person is dying and then they are dead. They take that person away. Now you are left maybe with another person who is unconscious, who is very sick. They can't communicate, and you know that you are also going to witness the death of that person. If you have ever been admitted and you have been in such a situation, I'm sure that you know about this trauma that I am talking about. It is a kind of a trauma that will never leave you for the rest of your life. I am thankful that my mother brought with him some people from the church. They prayed for me after the money had been paid, and I returned back home. I stayed with my mom for a little while. Later on, that was when I made my wife to be convinced that we needed to sell our house in Santon. We got money out of it and we downgraded from Santon. We looked for another area, but it was not in the low density, and we bought that house there where we are currently staying. I am grateful. My wife, even though she can cheat on me, but she has not cheated on me all these years ever since I became paralyzed. I enjoy to watch and listen these shows because during the day I am home alone with the maid, and all that I do is to watch TV, to watch YouTube, and I enjoy listening to people having discussions as well as podcast. So when you post my story, you can give me a link so that I can quickly listen to the program. I just want other people to know that if you are owing anyone, it does not matter where this person comes from, just pay them their money before they die, because when they die, they will come back to you. Christians, they say that these are familiar spirits, but what I saw, it was that Zimbabwean guy. I saw him. It was Nkosi, the guy that I saw. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear sister who gave us this translation. Let us thank her for the translation that she gave to us. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world. Let us talk with our dear brother in the comment section. Have you ever been admitted in the hospital, and do you agree that it gets so scary at night in the hospital? If so, you can come to my inbox at Brother Nashi and share with us your own experience of what happened when you were admitted in the hospital.